Okay, so this is the Discovery Life of Pi analysis for this year's HSC 2018, and I've made these series of recordings for a class that I won't be able to attend in the holidays, so hopefully if they need to they can log on here and get the Discovery analysis for Life of Pi. So the first scene here is one of the most important scenes for me in the text. There are many scenes you could analyze, but this particular scene has, what I consider fundamental importance when fully grasping the nature of discovery for a pre-adolescent boy and his connection with religion. Now, his mother plays a vital role in this particular discovery and its connection to him, because she gives him the foundations and gives him a path, sort of, mildly cliche, of enlightenment. But it is his first real path, and that's why it's so fundamental to sort of grasping the protagonist's development story, so to speak. So the technique I like to use, if you are tealing this, or tealing or peeling, whatever your teachers would like to say or like to use with you, the main technique for me in this scene would be intertextuality. Because as Pi looks into the comic book in that scene, you see him get transcended through magical realism, which is another technique. It's a CG based technique, which is CGI technique, which is great for Pi. He gets transcended into this world of superheroes, and the quote is, "The gods were my superheroes." Now that's an amazing quote if you think about how it puts maybe a 9 or 12-year-old boy, between the ages of 9 and 12, I'm guessing from looking at the text. For such a boy to make a statement like that, it really puts the responder in a very solid place to understand where this boy is growing and how mature he is. Because to make a statement like, there are boys between 9 and 12 who are looking at superheroes such as Batman, Superman, Marvel, things like that, and this boy's looking at Vishnu and Lakshmi and the other Hindu gods. So he definitely is, I think, in terms of intellectual understanding, he's advanced. In spiritual growth, I think he's advanced. But in terms of religious growth, I think he's tremendously advanced, especially for a boy at that age. So I really think that this scene gives, as I said before, the foundation of Pi's spiritual and emotional growth. It's really important. Now, directly, you can say opposing, I say it's an extension of this scene, is when the father then juxtaposes the mother's view of religion. Because the father, at the end of the enlightenment scene, when he comes to understand who Vishnu is, the father directly opposes the mother by saying, religion is darkness. Now in this scene, I really tell my class to analyze it, you will see the father somewhat as a centerpiece of the shot, and then throughout that shot you'll see Pi sort of take over the centerpiece, and then to the right you'll see the older brother, right? I think it's Ravi. So you will see, just through body positioning and camera angle, there'll be a disconnect from father to Pi and a greater connection from the father to the older brother. And at this point, this is a really, really pivotal scene in this text. Because at this point, the father has just dismantled everything that the mother had told him in regards to having a greater understanding of religion. Now, that is not a bad thing. You must understand this from the point of a discovery. And at this point, Pi discovers that there is more to life than religion in terms of spiritual growth. What Pi sees now is that there is another path. Don't always look at this as a negative, and I use the term dismantling, and you can use that, but I think just so you can comprehend it and just sort of back up that technique, how Pi is now moving away from the father, it's more that Pi is lost. Pi is a little bit now struck and in a hard place at the moment. He can't really decide mother or father at this point, and his spiritual journey has come to a metaphorical fork in the road, if I could say so. And at this point he's thinking, well, maybe there's another way. So even though in hindsight we might say that he might be more lost than given enlightenment, he's actually given a second path. And that is why this scene is so important. Now you can go on the angle you take on this could be you got the father versus the mother, and you got the two religious or anti-religious theories coming together and then forking off. Fantastic, you can go that angle as well. But that is why this is such an important scene. So there you go, that's my first analysis of that particular scene. Okay, so the second scene that I want to focus on is the flying fish scene. I don't think it's in chronological order, but nevertheless, let's carry on. So I really like this scene because it's a pivotal scene in conceptualizing how Pi recaptures his faith in many ways. It's deeply symbolic and metaphoric, and it's a really vivid scene. Now there are lots of CGI techniques in this particular scene, but we're going to focus on your traditional breakdown of visual literacy and basic language techniques. But we'll look at this scene. So the flying fish scene is important because it happens directly after the whale protrudes through the water and somewhat destroys all of Pi's food stocks. And you can see Pi and Parker on the boat, on the life vessel, and they are really, if I could say, emaciated. They are, I don't want to say shut in, but they look so withdrawn. And I think more to do with lack of spirit rather than hunger, but it's a mix of both. And they look like they're right on the brink. But I believe this to be a deep metaphor about losing one's faith. I don't think Pi is looking for replenishment in terms of food and water. I think the deeper metaphorical or symbolic relevance to this particular scene is that he's losing faith. And just about when he's about to, give up, we see the emergence of the flying fish. And first there's one, there's two, and then we see a swarm. And it is when he is at his wit's end and it is his last straw with God finally gives back. And we might say that, his quench for thirst and hunger has been fulfilled. Well, I think his quench for spirituality and fulfillment and is there a God has been fulfilled, or is this relationship with God back to being a tangible one? And that's why this scene is so important. It's Richard Parker is full and he's full. Obviously, they're the one. Obviously, you know that. But at the end of it, we think Pi has rediscovered his faith. He has rediscovered who he is, and that's why this is such an important scene. Rediscovery is a really big element of the discovery unit. Obviously, the technique is metaphor or symbolism, with the flying fish symbolizing a replenishment in one's faith and one's understanding and their relationship with God. In terms of the quote you use in your teal or steel or peel paragraphs, I would say it would go along the lines of "Here, eat." So HEREEAT, when he gives Parker some of the food. Okay, I might be slightly off. You just double check that one on the text itself. But that is why this scene is so important. That's it. Okay, Storm of God. Good scene here. Storm of God is a deeply symbolic scene, like all of them, I suppose. If you listen to the first two analysis pieces, you'll understand that I suppose in many ways it's the same sort of rhetoric over and over again, a little bit monotonous, but that is the nature of this particular text. It is deep, it is somewhat overwhelming, but that is Life of Pi, either from the Jan Martel perspective or from the Ang Lee perspective. So the Storm of God is a really important scene because this is more about and again, pardon the cliche, but the trials and tribulations of what it is to go through the growth and living and life process. So the most important part of the scene, it's a metaphor, is that when the storm is just about to hit, or it just begins, the protagonist Pi loses his guidebook. He has that little book where he's been writing his notes, or where he's been learning about how to survive. Well, to many people, that particular book is is an extension or a metaphor of a type of scripture. Maybe the Torah, or the Shruti, the Bible, the Quran, something like that. And I think both Martel and Lee really go out of their way to depict that life cannot be learned through a text. You can learn some of the fundamental values of life through text, but life and the concept of growth, maturity, and the discoveries you make cannot be fully manifested unless you live them yourselves. And that is the most poignant concept in the Storm of God scene, because that bit of paper or that little guidebook gets ripped from his hands and he's left to deal with the storm alone. Now, the storm could signify a plethora of things, but the fact is that you have the protagonist on a life vessel with him, an extension of him in terms of Parker, a ferocious storm, and that's it. And to many people, that is life. These are the tribulations, and these are the hurdles that life gives to you. And reading a text might give you guidance, structure, foundation, but it will not enable you to do it with the text alone. You have to do it. And that is why this particular scene is so important. So I did use prior analysis on YouTube for this particular scene, plus what I got myself. So you'll find a similar analysis of this of someone who was extremely adept at understanding pi, who's done something quite similar to this. So I'm sure you've seen that yourselves, but that is why I think the Storm of God scene is pivotal, and I've used that term a lot, but I picked the four quote unquote most pivotal moments for me in this text, and that is one of them. So certainly Storm of God. The quote I like for this one is, "Why are you killing him?" Or sorry, "Why are you scaring him?" when he screams at the lightning bolt of the bright light, in reference to Richard Parker being scared. That is my quote. Of course, the technique is either metaphor or symbolism of when the storm rips that book out of his hands. The last scene I want to analyze today it's a dining table scene where it's a great quote, probably my favorite quote of the text, is, "But Columbus was looking for India." Now that quote comes directly after Pi is confronted and challenged by the concept that he is going to leave India. He's probably a little bit more worried about leaving his girlfriend, Anandi. However, it's a really important piece of dialogue when you understand the greater and more significant themes of what genuine and valid discoveries are. So when Pi or Pacine quotes this particular line, "But Columbus looking for India," the point we need to extrapolate from this particular quote is that the best discoveries are the ones that we don't intend to find. Now, we know that Columbus was looking for India and the spice trade when he set out, but he found North America. I mean, talk about finding something as good or even better in many eyes. I'm not saying North America is better than India or vice versa. I'm just saying that if you already have a preconceived idea of what a discovery is, then when you find it, surely it can't be as profound as finding something you are not looking for, because you're not ready for it. That is why this is such an important scene. It's a very small one, but that is why this is such an important scene when understanding the concept of pure and valid discoveries, that the ones that you don't plan to find are the best and reveal the most about oneself. And that is why "But Columbus was looking for India" is so fundamental in understanding this part of the text, because through this journey Pi learned so many things that he did not plan to learn, and they've had the most profound and immense effect on his development, his maturity, and his overall journey. That's been the end of this particular analysis. I will put another one up there, hopefully for feed, for Module C. and for Module A, the Shoehorn Sonata. So hopefully you'll be able to see them soon. Thanks, bye.